officials deny it. The flooding of towns like Kennett and Coram to create Shasta Lake has fueled tales of hauntings linked to the lost settlements. A powerful Native American legend speaks of a tribe that, after being displaced by the dam's construction, summoned a horned serpent from the Sacramento River during a spiritual ceremony. This serpent, seen as a symbol of their grief and anger, is believed to still dwell beneath Shasta Lake's waters.
Holy
My name is Ryan Woods. I'm one of the co-founders of Paranormal Triage. For the last 2.5 years or so, we've been doing paranormal investigating all over California, but kind of mostly centered in Shasta County.
My name is Brenda, and I was born and raised here in Shasta County. I've been a paranormal investigator for about 2 years. We got into the paranormal because of some activity that started in our house, and we decided we wanted to connect the history with the paranormal in some way, shape, or form. So because of the activity in our house, we did a little bit of research, and we already kind of knew that this was mostly Native American land, and there was a lot of Native American communities all up and down the coast of California. Here locally, it's the Wintu tribe. You have the Winnemen, and you have some other offshoots of the Wintu tribe that inhabited all of this, whether they were eastern, western, north, south. So in that research, we decided to do this investigation on the Shasta Dam. I didn't really think much about Shasta Dam because I really didn't like history when I was younger. I've always saw the Monolith, and it was kind of spooky, so I never really went to it. It was just kind of a place I stayed away from. And it's interesting, the stuff that you don't know when you live in this kind of area. I never really liked history that much, but without history, we don't have the paranormal.
So where the dam sits right now in Shasta Lake is a few miles north of the city of Shasta Lake. And south of Shasta Lake is the city of Redding. And when you go kind of to the central part of Redding, you have where the Sacramento River flows through. And there they have what they call the Monolith, which is the original structures of where they collected the aggregate when they built the dam. And that was the starting point of this 9.5-mile conveyor belt that was the genius brainchild of Frank Crow. So we kind of started our paranormal history search at the Monolith. The Monolith is the original area where they were collecting the aggregate so they could make the cement for the dam.
At the time, the world's longest conveyor belt transported 12 million tons of aggregate from the Sacramento River in Redding to the dam site. The construction of the dam required over 6.5 million cubic yards of concrete, 6 million barrels of cement, and 15,000 tons of steel reinforcement. The Monolith was a big part of building Shasta Dam in the 1940s. It was used to mix cement, rocks, and water to make concrete. Trains brought in the cement, and the Monolith helped turn it into the huge amount of concrete needed for the dam. Today, it's a landmark, that shows how the dam was built.
We're going to find out if this place has any spirits. Let's out the door. Ooh, you could go in?
Yeah.
Shut the front door.
There's some pictures. I don't know if you can see them with the light, but
Do you think this is a loop?
pictures. Oh, here we go.
It's creepy in here. Whoa.
Yeah. Big concrete building.
This is the one creepy ass building. It's home to make it gossip. I imagine this place was super noisy back in the day. Are those all work helmets? Oh, those are old helmets. It's a sculpture of helmets anyway.
Some art in here. Let's see, here's a picture of what it used to look like. So they used to mix all the gravel and everything. This is where they used to make all the concrete.
I guess we'll find out.
Here we go. Shasta Dam, Monolith, grounding gem. It's the dam aggregates impounded or gravel.
It's so freaking dark in here. It's pretty high up there, the ceiling or the roof.
This thing is huge.
That's not our alarm, is it?
I don't think so.
Those are pictures back in the day. It is super dark in here. We're going to walk back through. Is there anybody in here? I think we'll get our spirit box out here in a minute and see if we can do a spirit box session. See if we get anything. This is actually the first time I've walked through here. And it is spooky. Yeah, that was a creepy walk. That's creepy.
Think so?
Kinda. What do you want to do?
Well, should make it more creepy and turn on some stuff.
Sure. How's that working?
Good.
Nice. What do you want to do? Do you want to go to the very middle or?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're gonna
There we go.
go do a little spirit box session more towards the middle here.
Might be kind of loud,
That's gonna echo.
echoey. Maybe over here better because it's kind of an open. Oh yeah, and here's the other thing. Let's see, it's February, what, 11th? And full moon tonight. Okay. So, SB7.
You actually probably put that camera on the tripod.
Yeah, it's a little low. Yeah, let's do this. Anybody want to talk to us tonight?
Sounds kind of weird. We only had to do weird things one other time, and that was at the cemetery above the lake.
Yeah, that's doing the same thing as it was before because it was super quiet. Is there any old dam workers in here? So that was AM before. Now I'm scanning FM.
So are there any workers in here that helped build the dam? What'd that say?
I don't know. One of the things we captured was a voice asking about Freddie. And it dawned on me that maybe there's a connection. So we did a little research and digging on anyone named Freddie or Fred that was connected to the dam or the dam construction. And we did find that there was a Fred Gillen that was a worker that was connected to the dam. And they've got documented evidence of him and a photograph. We don't know if he passed away in 1945, but we know that his remains were moved from what they call the Curl Cemetery to the Central Valley Cemetery. And why is this important? How does this connect everything? Well, that is, the Monolith is the original area where they were collecting the aggregate so they could make the cement for the dam. And in there we captured a voice on the spirit box asking about Freddie. And Freddie happened to be one of the remains that was relocated before they flooded that part of the valley that is now under the lake. So there's some history that we could connect to some paranormal activity. And that is kind of the purpose of what we're doing. Anybody want to talk to us tonight?
Is there anybody that still resides here? Do you still wander around here? Were you from here? Or did you relocate here to work on the dam? Did you run the conveyor belts? I don't get any weird feelings in here. Like, I don't feel like... anybody want to say hello?
Is there any native spirits here?
That was like echoing. Echo!
Still back out there. Whoa.
What?
Those two cats just came out from underneath our car.
I didn't really get a sense that there's like any lost spirits here or anybody that's forgotten or trapped. You know, it's been a long time, so. Also, the other interesting things about Shasta Lake, because it's 365 miles all the way around the lake, and it touches other counties and other lakes that have a lot of rich history and Native American lands. But some of the things that we grew up not knowing is like Slaughterhouse Island. This is a place on the lake where every year the college students come up and they party and they basically make a mess. And we didn't really know the meaning behind Slaughterhouse Island, but we later found out that Kennett had a slaughterhouse there during its tenure. So that's where that name came from. And there's a lot of missing people on the lake. You know, they go out and go fishing and they never come back and nobody really knows why. Is that because of the horned serpent? I don't know, but it is interesting to think about that. You know, we have many deaths every year on the lake, and it's surprising. I think people would be shocked. So is there something to the horned serpent? Is there something about building and flooding out Native American land and all their spiritual places that they would do their celebrations and things like that? So it's pretty interesting.
Local folklore tells of a native tribe whose sacred land was threatened by the Shasta Dam. In desperation, they performed a fire dance to summon a legendary horned serpent, huge, scaly, with long teeth and twisted horns. The beast is said to have risen from the Sacramento River to frighten off the builders. Though the dam was completed, the legend lives on. Some believe the serpent still dwells in the depths of Shasta Lake, guarding the lost land in silence.
One of the unfortunate parts about the completion of the dam was the relocation of the Native American communities in those areas, Kennett, Coram, and all of those areas. It changed their lifestyle, you know, their salmon fishing, and they never really got the recognition from the government that they needed or deserved. But the relocation of the cemeteries, flooding out their sacred lands where they would do their ceremonies, and even today they're still talking about raising the dam, which would probably wipe out the rest of their sacred areas in this local area.
You know, the town of Kennett was a copper mining town. That's what it was known for. It kind of boomed through that process of the copper mine and built into a town and had a post office, and at one point was probably one of the most populated towns in Shasta County, aside from the seat, you know, which was originally Shasta. You know, but that kind of dried up, you know, before they even started building the dam. So people think that, you know, the poor town was just taken over by the Bureau of Reclamation and just flooded, but it wasn't. It was kind of almost a ghost town at that point, because the smelter, which was in Coram, which was the town next to it, was actually putting off a lot of toxic fumes and pollution, and it was polluting the water and it was making people sick. So the federal government basically shut down the smelter in Coram, which at that point dried up all of the work, the copper mines in Kennett. So then they come along to build the dam. It really wasn't that big of a deal. They relocated a bunch of the buildings, post office, and you know, they moved everything kind of into what is now, you know, the Central Valley or Shasta Lake area. And that, obviously, that area came into a boom town when they started building the dam in 1938. And they, from 38 to 45, they were building the dam. So a lot of history, not only on the physical dam itself, but in the surrounding area. Central Valley, Summit City, Project City, all the things that kind of spawned because of all the people that congregated in the area to build Shasta Dam.
Beneath the 500-foot depths of Shasta Lake, remnants of a bygone era remain hidden. Steel fragments of the original tower from the dam's construction still cling to the lakebed. Submerged vehicles and forgotten artifacts rest silently in the waters. The forced relocation of at least 26 cemeteries may have unsettled the spiritual balance of the land.
We're walking to the water edge of the lake, and where we'll be able to see the dam. To see if we could go down and see if we can capture any spirits. Okay, hopefully we don't kill ourselves on this really cool looking rock.
How much further do you want to go?
Just right here.
Just to the edge there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get away from people. Let's see.
Let's just go up to where that tree is. There it is. That one's jumping. This would be the spot that we caught a fish.
I figured.
I gotta redo my fishing license. Just expired.
And there's the dam. So the stories that I heard growing up in the area was when the workers were working on the dam and they would fall in and they would die, that they would cement right over them. But in our research, we determined that that was not the case because it would ruin the integrity of the dam and the cement wouldn't set right and all that. And but people still believe that today. Let's sit down there. I wouldn't think we get a whole lot of radio interference out here.
Anybody here at the lake that wants to say something, you can talk into this box. Any spirits of any of the dam workers out here?
There's a lot of gnats out here. We didn't invite the gnats. We just want the spirits. So are there any people from the cemeteries that were relocated still out here? Are you angry that you were relocated, potentially?
I feel like he said something, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
What happened?
Say what happened?
What happened? That's what I heard. I heard happen. What happened?
You tell us what happened. Do you remember the dam being built? Did you work on the dam?
Yeah.
Are there any Native American spirits out here? Can you confirm if you if the horn spirit or the horn serpent is real.
How about Freddy?
Freddie, did you work on the dam? Did anybody work with a Fred or a Freddie? Did you say, yeah, you worked with a Freddie? What was that?
Is there anybody here that had your homes sunken by the lake? Is there any spirits of people that lost their lives in the lake? You want to say something?
So there's a lot of people that came out and went fishing in this lake and they never came back home. Are there any spirits of those families? Do you want to say something to your loved ones?
Ryan recalled that a few years ago, a young teen fell in the water and tragically drowned not far from where we are sitting.
Can you say that again? What's that low tone again?
Yeah.
Where did we hear that at? When we were at the Monolith.
At the Monolith.
How many gold miners were here and ended up working on the dam? Were you originally a gold miner? What was that?
I couldn't understand you. Say that again.
So it's really hard to get down close by the dam these days because they have it all locked down. So it's really hard to get into the little nooks and crannies that you would like to get to.